saw Hamish McIntosh walk out with his knee pretty heavily strapped. Is he any chance this weekend, or is that next week?
No, he's going to play this week at VFL level, so that's really exciting for Hamish. He's been a little bit longer than we anticipated, just a couple of little, one minor hiccup along the way, but no, it's great to have him back out. He's been training for a while, so match fitness shouldn't be too much of an issue, but he'll play minimum 50% in the VFL this week and then back available for selection, which is really exciting for him and for us.
So if he gets through this weekend, he's straight back into the side as far as you see?
Oh, no, I think that form is dependent. I mean, we're really fortunate at the moment that we've got a lot of players to pick from, and particularly big guys. You know, Cam Pedersen has been in the selection mix every week this year. It's just really difficult for him to force his way in. So when you look at Ben Warren, Ben McKinley kicking goals every week as key forwards, Pedersen doing the same, Edwards doing the same, Aaron Black's, we think an AFL standard player, and we're keen to get him in the side. So McIntosh has just added to that mix. So it puts a lot of pressure on the match committee and good pressure on our forward line that's functioning pretty well at the moment.
Morale looks great out there. You must be pretty happy how this week's progressing.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we've just got to keep working really hard, and we know that the challenges keep fronting up every week, and you only have to have one glance at the ladder and sides on the run home. It's going to be on. So if we slip up, we know the consequences are pretty severe.
It seemed like a pretty high intensity game last week. Have you had to have a lighter week on the track, a few sore bodies this week, or have you been okay?
No, our medical and conditioning staff have done a great job. The players, are bouncing around. So we'll just train as normal today and continue to work on our game. But the players seem to have pulled up really, really well. So touch wood, that keeps happening.
Do you see it as a great opportunity over the next fortnight, games against Melbourne and the Dogs?
Oh, well, it depends which way you look at it. I mean, we've had some crunch games in terms of where the ladder sits. The Bulldogs embarrassed us last time we played them, so we respect them because of the way they played against us last time. And Melbourne are trying to move the ball as quickly as any team in the competition at the moment. So we know they've got talent. You look through their list, they've got talented players. So any talented players that are allowed to play their way can be dangerous on any given day. So we're not in the position, we're not good enough to go into a game thinking about experimenting with different things. We've just got to go out and play our way and try and keep our form where it's been.
Taken much out of that Western Bulldogs game last time, and you go into that game as a strong favourite after a good performance the week before then too.
Yeah, I think it's just we constantly have it proven to us that the season's very tight, and probably apart from the two expansion clubs, but even the Gold Coast were very close to beating us earlier in the year as well. So every club needs to be on, otherwise you get beaten. And I think most sides this year, if not all sides, probably barring Sydney, but even Sydney got pretty comprehensively beaten at the MCG by Richmond. So every team in the competition knows that if you're not on, any team can beat you, and this week's no different for us.
When you go through those wins and losses, do you baffle yourself, the teams that you've beaten and the teams you've gone down to?
Not really. We just probably haven't been. You look at the results. We had two. One result that we lost after the siren, and we lost another with the last kick of the game. And the weekend's game went down to the wire as well. So, what it proves to us is that our best is reasonable. And we can challenge most sides, but when we're not on top of our game, we get pretty comprehensively touched up. So that's what we're working on, that sort of consistency.
Drew Petrie's been in some pretty good form over the last 2 weeks. Are you mindful though of becoming too Petrie conscious when the players are going forward?
Yeah, I think that's been a problem for us more in the past, to be honest. But Robbie Tarrant has been just fantastic for us, and didn't have his greatest game in terms of output, but the work he doesn't go unrecognised within the team. So, and Lockie Hansen's been fantastic for us in that regard too. So, and the players I mentioned before, Pedersen, Edwards, Black in particular, they're players that can come into our forward line. So we're fortunate with the numbers we've got, but we've got to keep making sure that we've got enough variety up there to take the pressure off Drew.
Is that pressure that's coming from the guys who aren't in the side? I don't know, even improving the quality of training and those sorts of things. Are you noticing during the week that those things are happening?
Yeah, and we still believe that there's a significant gulf between the level of intensity in the VFL to AFL footy. So the players who are in the VFL at the moment, really treat training sessions like, another audition for senior selection. So, and that's the way we want it. We want competitive training, and we've still got an enormous amount to work on. We're well aware of that. So that sort of pressure and that sort of intensity of training is really good for us.
There's a few players who've been consistently performing really well at VFL level, Brad. Does it become hard to keep their morale up when they're not getting a look into the senior team?
Yeah, I think that's a good challenge. I think that there's no doubt about that, because there are players who are desperate for an opportunity, and it is character building, because it's one thing to be out injured, and that's frustrating enough. But when you're playing really good footy, that is capable of cutting it at AFL level, that can be incredibly frustrating. But that's where we look back to the type of people we recruit at North Melbourne, and I can honestly say the guys are just wrapped that the senior team's winning, and that's the attitude we need. And we coach the players to be ready for their opportunity, because when it comes up, they've got to take it. Particularly with an injury list like ours.
Brad, can I ask about Travis Cloak? Is North Melbourne interested in him?
I think my long list of key position players before probably answers that. No, Travis Cloak's a Collingwood player, and I've said before, the only time we become interested in an opposition player is if he's left his club, and Travis hasn't done that, and I don't think he will. But no, we're blessed with a number of key position players, and we've been really fortunate in the past that we have had speculation over players potentially leaving, and they're a really loyal group, ours, and we think we're creating a great environment here, and our players want to stay, and we're more focused on retaining them than looking at too many others.
Brad, a pretty fiery game last week against Richmond, and even a bit of feeling in the game the week before. Is that just a matter of circumstance, or has that been the guys have actually said we're not going to let anyone stand over us anymore up in the last month in particular?
I think the hallmark of any good team over a long period of time is that you stand up for your teammates and you back them up. But our focus has been firmly on the footy, and probably people talk about our the style of footy we play. Well, we think the most important part of our game is winning the ball in close, and to do that you have to be pretty tough and aggressive in at the contest, and sometimes when competitors meet head on, tempers fray a little bit. So, but I was really proud of our guys on the weekend. I thought while it was fiery at times, I thought they were really calculated and really controlled. So we've got to keep that up.
There's been quite a bit of talk in relation to Kurt Tippett about concussions and things this week. Do you sort of support the idea that if someone's had so many concussions that perhaps they should be sitting the rest of the season out?
I'm not an authority on those matters. I couldn't comment because I just don't have the knowledge. I don't have the experience in that area. But we defer to the experts on those things. But I think we all commend the AFL for the work they're doing around research on concussion, and everyone's first responsibility in this game is the welfare of players, and we'd never jeopardise that under any circumstance. But I think it's a tough one because there's no irrefutable evidence just yet. So the research has got to continue, and the AFL doing a good job on that.
You were a very tough player in your day. Did you get knocked out much, and do you ever worry about that?
I got knocked out a few times, yeah, but you'd have to probably speak to others how much that's affected me. But yeah, no, it doesn't concern me. I think one thing about our game, and we probably talked a little too much about this last week with the Zeeble incident, but we have to make sure that the welfare of the players is absolutely paramount. But also there has to be acknowledgement that we do play a brutal, contested, full contact sport, and so with that comes incidental contact at times. Now, if you want to play AFL footy at the highest level, and any contact sport for that matter, you accept that there is a risk of being injured. As long as it's not reckless and there's no intentional hits behind play and things like that, then part of playing AFL footy is that there is a risk of being knocked in the head, and you accept that risk when you play the game.
Can I just quickly ask, last week you were very passionate in your press conference. Has the AFL had any problems, given you any phone calls since?
I think I said they're pretty sensitive, so you can guess whether they called me or not. They called.
Any fallout?
No, it was a pretty good conversation, but I didn't say anything different over the phone than I said in the press conference, so pretty honest and upfront.
Have you been keeping in touch with Zeeble in Utah, and how's he going?
Yeah, he's loving it. They sent some pretty unbelievable photos back of because it's the scenery and the the location they're in is just unbelievable. So, you know, they've been training really hard, and you know, he's been enjoying it, but I'm sure he'll be enjoying playing with us a bit more.
So Brad McKenzie being over there, Brad, is that just a case of trying to build his fitness up?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Brad's we think a really good natural footballer. He'd be arguably the best kick in the footy club at the moment. Wellesley might argue with that a little bit, but we just need to develop him physically. So that's a specific move to try and fast track his physical development.
Brad, Melbourne been dealing with the Liam Jarrah stuff this week. Do you think that'll have any effect on them at all this weekend?
Again, difficult for me to say, but no, I think they're all professionals, and they've got some really strong leaders in the playing group, but they're really well led by Mark Neild and Neil Craig, so I'm sure he'll have them focused for the weekend.
Richmond ran a defence at the tribunal last night, Brad, with Stephen Morris, that Lindsay Thomas had been the instigator, I think, that led to the melee. Any sort of concern that he's becoming a bit of a whipping boy for other clubs at the tribunal?
No, not from my end. We couldn't be happy with the way Lindsay approaches his footy, and you know, maybe my comments didn't help a couple of weeks ago when I said he's the best boxer at the club. Maybe a few people lining up to take him on, you know. But no, he attacks the footy really well. You know, my attitude with those things is you take responsibility for your own actions. You don't blame others.